Overtired. So tired. Overtired.
Welcome to Overtired. I am Brett Terpstra. I am here with, as always, Jeffrey Severns Gunsel and Christina Warren. Jeff, how's it going?
I'm trying to match your brightness.
I
gotta
just
do some stretches.
Yeah.
during the countdown before we started recording, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put on a new face. I'm gonna come out bright. I'm gonna come out hard.
Yeah.
And I just decided to go for it. I am not actually feeling that, but Christina, how are you?
Well, okay, yes, similar to Jeff, I'm like trying to kind of like find the energy. It's like, hey, I'm so glad to be here. This is and I can totally do that. But I was like, that doesn't sound like Brett. Okay, so no,
I love it.
I'm doing pretty well. Well, we'll talk about it, but no, in general, I'm doing pretty well. I had the last week or so off, which was nice, and now I don't know about you two, but it's like just kind of like winding down before the end of the year. So there's a lot of meetings and projects and stuff, but it's just kind of trying to get things squared away before the holidays. So
That
I'm
was
doing
some
pretty well.
well-earned time off.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Sounds like a wild few weeks before that.
So we all had last week off. It
Mhm.
was
We
just
needed time.
we needed a week off. We did.
I spent the
it was
whole
time.
podcast break on the beach.
Are you
you
serious?
know? No, I'm joking.
Damn,
But
I'm
I don't have to
disappointed.
record the podcast this week. I'm going to the beach.
So I found the style of music I want for the mental health corner. And I posted it in our Discord. Let me just send you real quick. Copy link. And I'm going to drop this in our chat. And you guys can just hear this so that it puts you in the mood for what's about to happen.
Depends on my mental health status. Oh, shoot. It went to a... Oh, can you hear that? Sorry, but it went to I'm in Chrome, so I'm not signed in, which means I got this big ad, and I was like, wow. Yeah, no, I'm doing pretty good. I was kind of depressed.
It's marimbas and castanets.
Yes, I remember you sent me that.
Just ching, 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 with the castanets going. Can I tell you before we head into the mental health corner?
Yes.
I did a guest spot. Rosemary was sick for Automators with David Sparks, and he brought me in to fill in for Rosemary. And I went ahead and just told anyone who's listening, because I'm used to, our relatively modest listener numbers. I'm like, anyone who's listening who wants into the NV Ultra beta, just, drop me an email. And holy shit, they have a lot of listeners, because
Really?
I have spent
especially
the
for
last
that.
I have spent the last 5 days just constantly fielding emails. Thank God for Text Expander.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
pushing people towards like the private email beta email list. But man, it's fascinating to me that some shows have so much more appeal than we do. I feel like we're very appealing. I don't understand why we don't have that kind of audience.
Yeah, well, it's a very different kind of show. I mean, I feel like, having listened to that show quite a long time, David established a sort of formula that is always met pretty precisely. And I think that, as having been someone who listened for like a year or so, it was a phase in which I just wanted to hear people talk about that sort of thing. It was Mac
Mhm.
power users in this case,
Sure.
right? And the thing that is interesting to me about podcasts, and this is in no way a critique of David Sparks or either of those shows, is that, like, how long can you do the formula before you feel like, oh, I just cycled through for the 50th time? Go to this app, go to this app, go to this app, go to this app, go to this type of thing,
Yeah, like, I mean, his listenership is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Rosemary, though, is
Rosemary's a beast.
someone who just brings things fresh every time. I feel
Sure.
like once Automators started going, it felt like with Rosemary, there's just no end to what she can contribute, because she's, I think
Yeah.
she's more actively like developing and playing and,
Yeah.
and so I think that was a great call as a co-host.
I would say that David bringing Rosemary on was equivalent to us bringing Jeff on.
And it got you just as many new listeners, namely my friend Daniel.
Hi, Dan.
Well, and another thing that's interesting about that podcast to me is I think of it because I do still listen once in a while. I always check out to see what the topic is, although I have not looked to see that you were there. Listening to his podcast is almost like listening to the classic rock station, where you're like, I don't really need this stuff anymore, but it's kind of fun to hear this song once in a while.
It's nice.
Play me the hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Play me the hits.
It's also it's like comfort. It's like comfort TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Like just have it on in the background. You're like, even if I already know a lot of this stuff, and even if I'm not necessarily learning, maybe I am. Like Grant listens to old Car Talk episodes all the time, and like that's a show that hasn't been on the air in I don't know how long, but they still re-release episodes on NPR, I think, or maybe it's just in their app. But one of the brothers passed away a few years ago, and before that even they'd like retired. But like that's another example of a thing like that. He can like listen to an old episode from like the 90s, and still enjoy the banter and the trying to figure out what's wrong with the car and all that stuff, And I feel like that's kind of similar with what you're talking about. Things like Terminators.
Click or Clack, didn't one of them die?
Yes.
That's what she's saying.
That's what I said. Yeah, one of them died. And they'd stopped before that because I think he had Alzheimer's or dementia or something.
That's sad.
It's very sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also like classic rock stations, Accidental Tech Podcast, which is one that I used to listen to faithfully. Now when I put it on, it's again like classic rock. I'm waiting for Van Halen to come on, and Van Halen in this case is John Siracusa. Like I want to hear John Siracusa.
When are we going to get Siracusa on this show?
We do. We need to have him on, like, honestly, and this would be one where I would just be happy to just like sit back and let the man talk because
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
let the man critique.
Yes.
We'll come up with a prompt. We'll throw out a prompt and just let him go.
I'm a huge fan.
I do that with Christina all the time.
He's a fantastic mind and delightful to listen to. Yeah.
All right. So, mental
are we supposed to be playing our marimbas for mental health corner?
We're just gonna have to imagine it for now.
Okay.
Unless whoever's editing this episode feels like interjecting, we're just gonna roll into imagine in your head 50s martini music, marimbas, castanets. I'm not even going to try to hum it. You know what I'm talking about. Totally. You know the genre. Who wants to do a mental health check-in? All right, fine, I will.
Okay.
It has been over 6 weeks now since I had a manic episode, and I think that's a good thing. I haven't been manic in a while, but I feel like I'm finding that new stable that I've been talking about. I'm not suffering from most symptoms of depression. I'm functioning at a higher level than I usually am in periods that I term quote unquote stable. And this feels like I might be finding a new normal. It's still not the like energy level that I really would like to think normal could be for me. I really am missing that like manic energy right now. I really want it. Like to the point where I'm tempted to like go off my stimulants for a few days and then just start them back up just to like trigger. Yeah, but I'm being smart. I'm not doing that, but there are still things I need to figure out before I can consider this sustainable, because my personality will try to train wreck this pretty quickly, and try to get back to a creative space that I feel like I'm lacking. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm doing all right. My the leader of my group at work got, they call it rift, reduction in force.
Rift.
She got rift taken away from us, and left us in kind of a lurch, and because it was a rift, they can't just replace her job position, so now we're all reporting to one level higher, and
Jesus
it's a
fucking
new
Christ.
guy they brought in from Microsoft, and none of us know him yet, and we have a whole bunch of everything's very uncertain. Like, we don't know what the situation's going to be. We don't know if what we're doing now is going to continue.
How many management changes does that make for you in just a little over a year, I think?
Three.
Okay.
Three major management shifts in the year I've been at Oracle. And I guess this is just kind of par for the course. I haven't been in corporate America for a long time, but
It's a lot, but I'm trying to think. I mean, I think I had 5 one year, so 5 or 6, but that was a crazy, like, that was a ridiculous situation, in all those cases, and so, and I'm not, like, defending it in any way. So 3 is a lot, 3 major ones, and in those cases, I was at least still in the same team, like, we didn't have, like,
yeah.
well, one time I did get reorged, but, like, I was still, even then, I was still, like, in the same group, whereas it seems like you've had a different reporting structure and some other different things happen.
The interesting thing has been that I have stayed in the same group the whole time.
Right.
But
Yeah.
everyone
But
else
everybody
in the
else
group
has,
has moved. So I'm in the same group, but with all new people.
that's what I mean, yeah. So it's
Wow.
effectively the same thing, whereas with
Yeah,
me,
it is.
there were some changes, but for the most part, it wasn't like I had, like, a new, like, I had new colleagues, you know what I mean? So,
Wow. Man. Corporate gigs.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
whole other, it's a whole other universe. It's hard to kind of explain, like, if you haven't worked in it, then going into it for people who haven't had that, especially, someone like you, Jeff, who, like, you've worked in journalism, which even corporate journalism is still different than, like,
Mm-hmm.
uh corporate jobs. I think in most cases, like, maybe it's different if you worked at, like, a very, like, buttoned up organization,
Well, for
although,
me, I have some of that experience because I'm kind of like a special teams guy,
right.
and those are the ones that get the managers switched out
Oh,
halfway through.
totally, totally. Yeah, but
But barely at all. I've had that experience once.
but you've also, because you're special teams, you're kind of like, that you're kind of like the get in, get out kind of guy, right? Like, that's kind of like part of the gig, right? Is that it's,
Yeah.
you go in, or you're working on your thing, and it can change around you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like,
Yeah, it's true.
at least that's how I felt about it. Is like the uncertainty or the chaos is kind of like a feature, not a bug in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas in theory, I think in corporate life, although the number of reorgs that big companies have, it's crazy. You think that you're doing it for the stability, and then you kind of realize once you're in it, oh no, there's not, like, there's, people wonder sometimes, like, how with really large organizations, and I'm going to be generalizing here, but I think this is probably true, largely, but it is still a generalization. Like, people wonder, like, why does it take big companies so long to introduce new things or to do stuff? And this is why, because when you have, 100,000 people or whatever in an organization, you're going to have a natural attrition of talent. You're going to have new people coming in and out with different strategies who want to do their own way of doing things and have their brilliant idea of wanting to restructure stuff. And every time you have a reorganization, then the people have to, like, get back up to speed and figure out what they're doing, and, like, that takes
Mm-hmm.
time, and, like, that leads to delays and stuff getting released. Like, that's why,
Yeah.
historically, I mean, not always, but historically, why larger companies are slower to respond to things than smaller ones, because they're just, so much, like, it, when you're trying to turn something like that, especially if you do it multiple times, you have a lot of people who are just kind of getting paid to sit around and not really know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. uh, Brett, you brought that up as part of your mental health check-in. Is that, I can't remember how we got into it.
Yeah, well, so my mental health right now is very much wrapped up in this stress of being
Yeah.
required. Like, we're on 2-week sprints now where we have to produce new content every 2 weeks. And like that is hugely taxing on my mental health because I just it's very laborious to me.
How do those kinds of posts perform?
I mean, we have a ton of like tutorial content that is useful and evergreen, but ultimately not high traffic properties.
Yeah.
It's a whole ecosystem of tutorial content that's great if you're searching for the exact term that it's about. You'll find it, but it's not exactly like announce it on the social channels and people swarm in to read
Right.
it.
No, and that's not really the goal. I mean, I think usually
Right.
the goal of that content is, one, yes, if you can get your SEO good enough with some of your keywords, people can find it and you can cut down on support costs. But usually the bigger thing is like when you have partners, and meaning like sales teams and ecosystems trying to find solutions for people and they're trying to integrate stuff, like it's useful to have those examples and that tutorial stuff there when people are trying to figure things out. Because the people who are, really trying to implement stuff, or maybe they're, again, consultants, it's really common. They go out of something and they're like, okay, I need to implement this. All right, what does your documentation say? And that's going to, in some ways, maybe save the partner teams from having to create one-off content that doesn't live anywhere else or have any longer standing purpose.
Have I told you what Warp is doing? The terminal Warp?
Yeah. You're writing for them, right?
Yeah.
I just watched a long tutorial about Warp.
I love
and
Warp.
I kind of fell in love.
Yeah, they're creating content. They're doing like the SEO research to figure out what people.
And just for the listeners out there, that's search engine occultism.
Ha.
Yes,
Go ahead.
exactly. SEO. They're figuring out exactly what terminal users are trying to figure out, and they're building content around that. And it's not even Warp specific.
Yeah.
Like the content they're building it very clearly answers the question. For example, how do I do recursive change mod?
Yep.
And how do I use the change mod command recursively? And any search for that is going to wind up on this terminus page they've created, which then links to Warp. And it's great content. They're doing a really good job of creating good content. Like that's what anyone, that's the content is king philosophy.
Totally.
Right?
No, it works. That's the DigitalOcean approach. Like that's what which I guess really was the Slice Host approach, which was, creating really good tutorials that were genuinely great, whether you're using DigitalOcean or not. And then that builds an affinity, builds brand awareness. You see the site a number of times and you're going, hey, I need a VPS. Who am I going to try?
Yeah.
I imagine that the similar thing will happen with Warp. Hey, I'm looking at a new terminal tool. Maybe this isn't enough. What should I try? Oh, well, you know what? This Warp stuff, it's been really useful. Let me give that a shot.
Yeah, I think it's really smart. Yeah.
And a really small example is SetApp started doing, how do you clean install, when there's a new operating system, and then there you are. I was wondering if you two probably understand this better than me, but in terms of SEO, so if a company that's making a terminal, that's the main thing they're doing, right? Is also posting on all this stuff that is Unix based or whatever else. Does the fact that they at the top level are a terminal site give them extra SEO juice when then they have things about change modification and stuff like that? How does that occultism work in that case?
I have no idea.
It's fucking black magic to me.
I know, man. Danny Sullivan's here with us.
Yeah, I was gonna say Danny Sullivan would know. I think he went to Google actually. But
yeah, I think he did.
But yeah, no, he would know. I have no idea. Although I do know that that's something like Microsoft struggled with a lot, and GitHub, I think, does a better job. And Microsoft had a whole team, where they have a whole team involved, but how good they were, I think, depends on what product they're working at. But we had things where, and this was sort of embarrassing. Like I remember one time, like maybe I shouldn't say this. Nah, fuck it, I'll say it. We were, writing, because we helped a lot with documentation and Azure stuff. And a guy on our team, Thomas, who he's no longer a developer advocate, but he still works at Microsoft. He's on one of the product teams. He was an MVP when we hired him, and MVPs are basically like they're kind of like community members who are maybe given early access to things, but they help out in the community, and they are kind of like our super fans, developers. Google has a program too. GitHub has one. Most companies have these sorts of programs. And his blog, because he continued blogging after he got the job, would often rank higher than the official documentation when you would be searching for how to do something in Azure. Like, it was crazy that his blog would rank naturally higher in SERP than the freaking docs would. And I was trying to, I like, we were talking about the problems with that one time, and I wasn't on the SEO team, but I kind of like went off on, I was in a group meeting, and I was like, you cannot say that the SEO team has it together when Thomas's blog ranks higher consistently. Like, clearly.
The authority score for my personal blog is insane. Like, if I write about a topic for a company I'm working for, my post will show up ahead in Google and in DuckDuckGo. There's something like, I have built a trust score. I don't understand how all of these scores work, but like my blog, if it matches the right keywords,
Mm-hmm.
I can rank higher than major corporations, and it's kind of nuts.
That's cool.
We've seen it happen when we've been working together and trying to solve some problem, and you search something and, you're
And then you find like Brett's stuff.
I
like
wrote
the one.
about this already.
Oh yeah, I wrote about this. Here's where it is. I love
It's
that.
also kind of what happened to you by going on Automators, right? Like that's a much more direct kind of mechanical version of what happens with SEO, but it's just like that authority score. I forgot about that. I remember back in the day, we were always like, when I worked at a magazine, we were always shooting to get like a laughing squid link, or
right.
like, you know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously
the Holy
Gruber.
Grail. Yeah, the Holy Grail was always if you could get a Drudge Report link.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I got those.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
that was a major source of traffic for my blog.
Yeah, are you fucking kidding me? If you can get a Drudge link, like,
do you remember Dig?
Wow.
Yes. Oh, I remember Dig. I had a falling out with Dig when I was a magazine editor. I realized that I realized, and this was just so naive of me, but I realized that in our conversations to talk about how we might use Dig, and this was already in like 3rd generation Dig in like 2011 or something, maybe it was 2nd generation Dig, but it took me a long time to realize that what they were suggesting was that I'd pay them to show up higher in the results, which like, I was so naive about it that I was like, I refuse to do this. I like got super punk rock. I'm like, fuck no, man. I trust Dig links. It was a very ugly argument.
So funny.
But, or like BuzzFeed was like that before they got super scammy, you know, like ad wise. That used to really matter. Man,
have either of you ever been fireballed?
When Gruber gets you?
When your site goes down?
Yeah, no. I was never writing on that stuff.
I've had a couple of blogs crashed by fireballs.
I've never on my personal blog. Stuff that he's written about, you know, for 2hour or Mashable or Gizmodo have been linked, but never my personal stuff, which thank God. Although that would have always been a goal, right? Like, that would have been great.
Sure.
But being fireballed, or like what was it, /.effect? That I think that was the OG.
Oh, /. Jesus.
The /.effect, and now it's like the Hacker News, thing, or yeah.
But I have found in general blogs are more resilient these days. Getting a Hacker News link will rarely crash.
Although I will say
blog.
That it is it is very much common that you go to one of the top Hacker News things and you go to that blog and there's a paragraph just like, sorry, wasn't expecting that traffic. Things are a little crazy right now.
Yeah, there's like, I'm sorry, this is just a static page because I didn't know.
Exactly,
Stop yelling at me, nerds.
I did the right nerd thing. I made a static page. Yeah, that is good stuff. Anyone else want a mental health?
I kind of want to talk about this, but I kind of don't. It's sort of my mother-in-law's health is not good right now at all, and so Grant is really struggling with that, and I'm really trying to be supportive. But I'm sure I'll have like more things to say about that as things progress. But that's kind of been like a top. It is a hard thing, and you know, she's been in declining health for a while, but you know, I think. Everybody is now realizing, you know, that the end is coming, and that's difficult.
Let's talk about your mental health in this, though. Do you find it difficult to be supportive of someone else in a situation that doesn't maybe directly affect you? Like, it's not your mom,
right?
So you have empathy or sympathy for Grant. Do you find it difficult to be I'm asking not because of any judgment on you, because
Right.
I do personally myself find it difficult to be a really good partner in situations like that. So
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
no, I struggle because I don't know exactly what to do, right? Like there's a
Yeah,
feeling of helplessness of not knowing exactly what to do because my instinct always is to try to solve a solution and fix things. And there's not much I can do here, right? Like we are, 2,500, we're 3,000 miles away. And he has a flight out that he's going to go see her. I'd really pushed him to go see her. I'm glad that I did like book him a flight for Thanksgiving. He wasn't going to go, and I was just like, "No, you're going." And I went to Atlanta, and he went to Jacksonville. And he saw his mom, and that was really good. And he's flying back next week, and I think his flight is for 2 weeks, and I'll probably join him for a day or two, but I won't be there the whole time. But and obviously I've told him like, look, if something changes suddenly, we're on a plane as soon as that needs to happen,
sure.
and I'll be there like regardless. But yeah, I struggle because in this case their relationship is better than the relationship that he had when his dad died. That was really difficult, and um I wasn't as good of a partner as I think he needed me to be, but I was as good of a partner as I could be at that time. But I really didn't know what to do in that time because I'd met his dad twice, and he and his dad had a really complicated relationship, and I wanted to be supportive, but um, I didn't know how to be in the way that would be useful to him. I
Yeah.
think I can be more helpful here because I know his mom, I love his mom, and this is it's a different he and his mom have a different relationship. It's just a little bit different scenario. But yeah, like you, I still struggle. I don't know exactly what to do, and like, you know, um what, like yeah, it's a challenge because like I know how to be supportive, like with my mom, like when her parents died and when her sister died, like I knew what to do. Even though, I didn't know what to do, but I knew how to be supportive. I knew me just being there was enough support. But in a situation like this, there is a lot of uncertainty and then confusion, and then you don't want to make it about you because it's not about you, but you want to be supportive. But then, there's also, the grief that even though she's not my mom, you go through as well. So it's just it's a struggle.
Yeah, because it's not a lack of empathy. Like
No,
Yeah.
you feel it.
Yeah.
I can see it in your face right now. You're feeling this.
totally.
And you're relating it to all of your own personal experiences. But I hear what you're saying. I would say in my experience, Jeff is way better than the two of us
I agree.
No,
at this kind
I
of
am
No, I
not.
totally
I
situation.
am
agree.
not. I am not actually. I really struggle.
Jeff will, when Jeff knows that something is up for either of us, he will check in
Yep.
just randomly.
No, but you do
Hey,
it so well.
how's it going?
Like okay, like I'm in a situation right now which is very different from Grant's, but I'm also kind of struggling with, and I'm the way I'm handling it I think is the right way, but I don't know, is a friend of mine's father, right before Thanksgiving went into the hospital, completely unexpected, and turned out that he had some sort of autoimmune thing, and he's not going to make it,
Oh shit.
and is completely unexpected,
Mhm.
and she's younger than me, so like this is a total shock, and I don't even know just and she and I like we're friends but like not super close, right? So like I don't even know what to say to this. It's similar. A girl I worked with very closely for years, her husband died unexpectedly over the summer while the whole family was on vacation. He had like
Oof.
Oh
it was
God.
awful right before
Ugh.
her youngest second birthday, like just fucking terrible.
Oh
Like
wow.
I cannot imagine a worse
Yeah.
scenario in my life, right? And I reached out to her a lot and donated money and have continued to check in and share things with her and talk. But like I don't even know but what do you even say? What do you even do?
Mhm.
Like how do you even
Mhm.
be like a person there? And it's you want to be supportive, but for me, I'm just like I want people to know that I care and I'm there for them, but like what do you even say? What do you even or should you say anything, Like I don't know.
I my I 2 years ago or so, I found my mom nearly dead on her bedroom floor. And she had been unconscious for like 3 days and was in a coma for like
Oh my
two
God.
weeks. And I'm an only child and she's single, so it was just really me there. I mean, she has tons of siblings, Catholic family and everything, but like this isn't necessarily even super helpful, but I'll say that like with the two things that I realized being on the other side of things, I hadn't been in something so dire before, you know. It was not clear she was going to live and all this stuff. And she's fine now. Um, but anyway, people that texted me or called me and left a message and said there is no pressure to respond. I just want to say, I'm thinking of you, right? Like that line, no pressure to respond. You don't need to respond. I just want you to know, whatever. Like there were two different kinds of people really that messaged me or phone or called me. One were the people that said that, and the other were people that just got a little too involved,
Yeah.
Sure.
wanted to relate my story to their story, wanted to, whatever. And I was just,
Totally.
my brain was just fried.
Not there.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't want to talk right now. And I'm not, this trauma is not an invitation for yours. There's a place for
Exactly.
that.
Well,
Right?
no, well, no, that's always the thing, right? And I actually, it's funny you say that. I said that exactly to Samantha. I was like, when her husband died, I was like, you do not need to respond to me. I just want you to know I'm thinking of you.
Yeah.
But sorry, go on. So
No, I think that's powerful. And then the other one is fucking Grubhub cards,
mm,
Uber Eats cards,
Yeah.
whatever. Like I now do. So I even just recently we had a little medical thing in our family, and there were a couple people that just sent us those cards, and man, eating off of a card, somehow, even though you don't really give a shit that you're spending money, right? In a certain sense, but it's just such a nice, easy
Yeah.
thing that feels like way more than you'd think it would,
Yeah.
I would have never guessed until I had that experience. And so now I try to like,
Yeah.
throw a card their way, get some people
No.
to put money on it, whatever that. And just saying, you don't
I
need to respond, but I'm thinking of you.
I do better with people going through grief. I have had enough people reach out to me and help me with grief that I actually have learned how to appropriately help someone with grief. And in exactly the way you're talking about, like not making it my own,
Right.
but like offering like, hey, I know what you're going through. Here's a book or a Grubhub card or etc.
Right.
And then I'm gonna leave you alone.
Totally.
And if you want to reach out, I'm here for you. It's when people are going through uh end of life stuff, when people are going through major medical situations with loved ones, that I'm not as good.
Right.
Like I don't know how to be there for them without being in the way.
Right.
And it's tough for me. I don't know why.
I feel like it's the same. It's the same advice. Like
Yeah, that's true.
having been only on the side of my mom, like basically I didn't know she was going to be a vegetable or whatever. Like I was realizing constantly like, wow, this doesn't feel like I thought it would. This
Mm,
doesn't feel like I assume people feel when they're going through this, you still feel just enough like yourself that again, a thing like a meal card or just a note, like, hey, I'm just
because
thinking of you,
it is
really
grief
pops
still,
through.
isn't it?
Oh no, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, I mean, if anything, like for instance, like with Grant's mom, Grant is a little bit different. Like I feel like I can probably help or do the right things, to my friend who is losing her father. Like that's awful. But I feel like I can be supportive in the right ways there. It's difficult when it's like your partner because
Yeah.
it is.
Oh God,
But
totally. Yeah, and I
you
don't
know what I
mean
mean?
to be addressing it
No,
as
oh
that.
no, oh
Yeah.
I know you don't. I know you aren't. I'm just saying, like for me, I think I struggle with that. But to your point, like it is still grief, right? Like because when you're watching someone decline, you know what's coming, and even if they
Yeah.
get better, it's still grieving for like you're still going through that process because you don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen next,
Yeah,
right?
that makes
Like
sense.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
you can't send them teardrop soup until someone has passed.
exactly, right? That's the thing, right?
Or
Like
tear soup. Tear soup.
tear soup.
That's the
Yes,
book. Mike Rose
yes,
sent me that book, Tear Soup. And when I was grieving for when I lost my pit bull. And because honestly, pet deaths have like I've lost a lot of friends, I've lost family, Like, a lot of people in my life have died, but nothing has ever hit me as hard
Mm.
as the pets I've lost. Because I don't have kids, so I've
Right. Well,
never come close to dealing with the loss of a child. That I can't
right.
imagine.
No, I think
But
that would look on the scale that has to probably be. I don't even know, right?
I
Like
I can't even fathom.
I can't either.
But like, but Mike sent me Tear Soup, and that book. I cried when I read it, and immediately was nothing but grateful. And now, when I have friends in grief over any of any kind, I go go to Amazon and I order them
Yes.
Tear Soup.
Yeah, no, and I used your advice. I've actually sent that to a couple of people, and for pets, and it's such a good book, and it's wonderful. But yeah, but that's the thing, right? Yeah, you can't send something like that until after the person is gone, but you can send them like when they're in the hospital. The Grubhub thing, that was a great reminder. Samantha, that helped a lot with her. Was like there was a meal train and there were some other things, and there was like a GoFundMe because again it was completely unexpected. 39 years old, you don't expect
Yeah,
somebody to be on vacation with their family, drop dead, like
that's
fucking horrific,
insane.
out of the country.
Yeah.
So that was a whole thing
Oh
too.
my
I don't.
God, it's
So
completely
I
insane.
can't even imagine honestly. Like
Yeah,
we didn't talk about it here because it was I didn't want to, it was not about me and I didn't want to make it about me, but it did impact like my mental health a lot over the summer just
I'm
because
sure.
like I loved her so much. But I can't even imagine being in another country. They're in Turks
No.
and Caicos with two small children, losing my spouse, and then having to figure out like how do you get the body out? How do you like what do
Oh,
you
Yeah,
do? Like
yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like they're just
The
all these
technical considerations, yeah.
right. I mean, like honestly, like you got to call the consulate. I'm sure that there are like weird COVID thing. Just I don't even want to imagine.
right.
And the fact that she also was having to raise two little boys at the same time, still be mom. Like I just beyond strong. So yeah, so the meals she said really helped, and then we sent her like an edible arrangement for the funeral because I didn't know if like they wanted flowers or not, or and I couldn't get information from the funeral home to really like find out like what the deal was going to be, and I didn't want to bug her to ask too many details, so instead I was just like, okay, we'll send an edible arrangement to the house after the funeral, and she loved it, and we did some other things, but it was just like you just you feel just but that I think that's good advice. I'm going to send my friend who's with their family is going through right now. I'm going to send her $100 Grubhub card right now. Actually,
Yeah.
that's a
Good
really good
call.
idea. Yeah.
It's funny, right? Because I know that I assume when somebody's going through something like even just what you described, Christina, with your friend out of the country, like I assume that they're on some special plane of grief that I can't access, but in fact, they're dealing with just one bullshit decision after another,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in that sense, it's a lot easier to imagine your meal card cutting through that than cutting through
Yes.
some high state
Well, that's the
of
thing.
grief,
Well, that's the thing when you don't have to make the
monastic.
decision. When you don't have to
Yeah.
make the decision about who food is coming from or anything like that,
Yep.
right? Like, when you
That's
don't have to, you just go forward. Yeah.
that's why people bring casseroles to wakes,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Totally.
Well, and
Yeah.
it also, I know for me with my mom, like it meant that I did eat,
Yeah. Well,
because
that
Yeah.
I was
exactly.
living in that hospital ICU for like a week,
Yeah.
and I would
100%.
just be like, ah, fuck it, I'll go get a bag of chips in the vending machine later. But instead, I could get Thai food delivered. It made a huge difference.
Jeff, I want to hear from you before I do a terrible sponsor break.
That's a good way to set it up. That's why we have all the listeners and the money.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we have all the money.
Yeah. I'm doing really good today. I don't have a lot to sort of report coherently publicly, but like just that, just picking up actually on the job thing we were talking about for so long. I'm pretty close to having an end date to my project that has been going for almost 5 years, sometime in the spring, most likely. And I'll be 48. And I know I don't want to go back to an office, which I guess is easier now than it used to be to not go back to an office. But I also have thought a lot about how projects that I've built, that I've worked on, that are sort of trauma facing, I do this work around juvenile justice, are 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 sort of almost really ought to be a relic of my past, as weird as that may sound, because it was a different me that needed to always do trauma facing work. And I think I was a little past that even when I started this project, but I didn't realize it yet. And I've just had a lot happen over the last few years that's caused just a ton of growth and sort of reconciliation with hard things. And I actually feel like what's complicated about deciding what's next is that I don't think there's a direct pathway out of what I have been doing to whatever it is that I want to do, because I don't want to do, I want to have a season of not doing trauma facing work in my life, a season in my life of not doing that. I've never had such a season. From the time I stopped being a drummer in a punk rock band in 1998, I've never had.
When you immediately went into fucking journalism and
No, not even that. I went straight to like activism and aid work in Iraq, and journalism didn't even come for another like 5 years.
Oh man.
And so I've come to realize in therapy and elsewhere that it's like, oh, I've kind of settled that part of me. Maybe I shouldn't just build something up that kind of forces me into a sort of trauma hunter-gatherer phase.
Yeah. How do you redefine, like, that is the you I know, is someone who puts themselves into trauma facing situations to document them, to aid in and remedying them. Like, I don't know how you redefine.
Me neither. That's why it's sitting here in Mental Health Corner.
Yeah, right.
I'm not stressed about it at all. I'm actually just really grateful to have that awareness, because I'm also in just a weird point in time where it's like jobs I would have gotten in the past aren't really available to me in the same way that they used to be. And it's nothing like what it's like for women. And I would say that I'm reaching a point as a man that if I could be hired in journalism, it would be by other men of my age or older who are absolutely not the cohort I want to be working for ever again. I'm just like, I hated that about journalism. I hated it. All these men who failed up and became managers and hired more men that they liked and thought they were radical when they hired a woman. That's just a scene that, I mean, I'm not even saying I'm welcome in that scenario anymore, but
yeah.
Anyway, let's tune in next year to see what happens to Jeff. I don't know if I could get paid a lot of money to just work on old machines in my garage. That'd be fucking fine. I've done enough.
Totally.
Is there a way? Is there a profession?
Can you make a YouTube channel?
I've thought about the YouTube channel, but those people, they don't end up happy.
I know. I'm just,
you will end up serving the channel. That's what I worry about. That's what I worry about.
Remember when we were kids, I'm willing to bet you guys, when they asked you what you wanted to be when you grow up, you said things like fireman, astronaut,
president.
Like, we had weird aspirations, unrealistic.
Yeah.
Do you know what the most common Gen Z response is?
YouTuber.
Yes.
YouTuber.
It's YouTuber.
Hey, look, I actually would love. So there is a whole genre of YouTube channel that's just literally no narration, tool restoration. And there are people that do that work that get 4 million hits a video.
Jesus.
And they're not saying anything. I mean,
do you know like a YouTube, when you watch your favorite YouTuber and they do a sponsor break, do you have any idea how much they get paid for that sponsor break?
Oh, so the ones that don't get cut out when you have premium, like that kind of situation?
Yeah. The ones that are...
It varies.
The ones that are part of the actual YouTube itself, they're 5 digits plus.
Wow.
Like, we don't get that kind of money for our sponsor spots.
Yeah.
And you get a YouTube channel with even, 250,000 subscribers, you can make bank on those sponsor spots. It's crazy to me.
You know what drives my boys nuts is if I help them with something and they're like, "Oh, thanks." As I'm leaving, I go, "Hey, don't forget to mash that subscribe button." Pisses them off so much.
Remember to turn on alerts.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you mind if I take a sponsor
No,
break
sponsor
now?
it.
This feels like a perfect segue.
It honestly is a great segue.
Anyone who knows me knows about my robo-dom fetish. I have subscribed to multiple robot dominatrix services over the years,
Oh my
and I get a lot of dirty pleasure from submitting to dominant, sexy mechanical entities. But those subscriptions pile up over time, and it's really easy to lose track of which electronic overlords I'm serving. And I need a quick way to see all of my subscriptions and cancel the ones that I'm done with. That's why I love using Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. The app shows you all of your subscriptions in one place and then cancels for you whatever you don't still want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for, and you may even find out that you've been double charged for a subscription. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/overtired. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/overtired. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/overtired. And if you want to curb your submission to the sexy, sexy robot overlords, check out rocketmoney.com/overtired.
I want to point out that you've somehow found a way to segue Mental Health Corner every episode into you working out your weird fetishes.
Yeah, I feel I feel like it's part of my mental health situation to just really to shed light, right? Like,
Yeah, you're a voice for the voiceless. Yeah, you're a voice for the voiceless. It's really amazing. Light and dark corners, brother.
I would also like to tell everyone about another podcast that we love. We love them because they're also talking about us. This is a promo swap.
It doesn't take much for us to love you.
The Best Advice Show is your reminder that there are weird, delightful, and effective ways to make your life slightly and sometimes profoundly better. In every very short episode of the show, a different contributor offers their take on making life more joyful, healthful, and livable, and it's likely going to be something you can try out today if you want. What I love about the show is you can get in and get out. You can learn a tangible, actionable nugget of advice and then get on with your day. The host, Zach Rosen, talks to well-known people like happiness guru Gretchen Rubin and filmmaker Mike Mills, but also his friends and his daughter and his listeners. The Best Advice Show, available wherever you listen to Overtired. What out of you added 3 topics, Jeff. I want to talk about these common passwords.
Yeah, let's do that because the other two kind of go together. So this is funny because NordVPN is sometimes a sponsor, and this is a list gathered with financing from NordPass.
Set us up.
So basically, NordPass released a top 200 most common passwords. You can find a link in the show notes. And it's actually something where they worked with independent researchers who specialize in cybersecurity incidents. Basically, there's a database of all the password leaks, and they analyze those. In this case, it was a 3 terabyte database of all of these leaks that they analyzed to come up with the top 200 passwords. Now, I'll get us just past the cruft. I mean, right off the bat, you've got 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. You've got QWERTY. That's just that row on your deal, right? Here's something I love, which is that in the 22 spot, I love you.
So down at the bottom, they have like different breakdowns for fashion brands, artists, video games. Swear words fascinates me because 21,223,000 some passwords were just fuck.
Yeah.
Their password was just fuck.
Well, fuck you is number 56 on this year's list with 1,562,037. And I have to say, I think that not for any current passwords, because I use password manager and I don't even know most of my passwords, but fuck off has
Right.
definitely been a password that I've used before.
You're just not in the mood for that shit right now.
Well, because and oftentimes it'd be like for a service that they make you sign up for sign up for an account and you don't want to and you're like, I'm never going to use this again. Be like, fuck off.
Yes. Yes.
Sure.
That's
sure.
good. I like
but
it. I like it.
let me just put it out there. If you add some spaces and some extra words, if you wrote fuck right the hell off with spaces between each word, you would reduce the crackability of the password
Oh, yeah.
infinitely.
That's true.
Oh yeah, if it
that's
was
good.
go space fuck space yourself exclamation mark that would be like a very difficult to crack password.
Yeah, fuck you may not be that simple, but I would like to point you to number 131. Fuck you 1.
See that? I saw that. I appreciate this. Also, weirdly, in the top list, MySpace one. Who the fuck is still using MySpace?
Exactly. What better password than a dead social media service?
Oh my god. Okay, so Brett's talking about on the homepage for this top 200, you can look at like movies. They have these special lists. So and you had cuss words, swear words.
What is
Fuck.
Leon? I don't even know what Leon is.
In the movie thing? Well, that's
Yeah.
like, well, hold on. Go back to swear words because I learned that mist is German for like, well, it said it might be German for dang, but which isn't really exciting. But you got puta in there. Like it's a little international, the
Yep.
list.
Sure.
But it's mostly swears we know in English.
Because if you do it in a foreign language, it's less crackable.
Okay, Christina, I'm at the top 10 artists, and Taylor Swift is not in that top 10.
Okay, good. That's because Swifties know better. Swifties know.
All right,
Yeah,
that's
you
the
don't put
point.
in- Yes.
Metallica and Eminem are.
But
So is
Metallica
Miley
comes in after the Eagles, fucking boomers.
after Eagles. Yeah, I was like, that's an awful lot of fucking. Now, what's interesting?
God.
Pink. They have as the artist. I think that's just the color because any true Pink fan would use the exclamation
Yeah, that makes no
point.
sense. What fucking service is allowing you to use U2 as a
Thank
password?
you.
Yeah, exactly. How do you?
That makes
how do you
no
get away
sense
with
to
a
me.
2-character password.
I'm calling bullshit on that one.
Yeah. Also,
33 million.
yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Are we sure that's just not in the password? There are a couple of other 2-letter ones in cars. VW is number 4. Like, there's no way. Like, no service is letting you have like a 2-letter password.
I wonder if they're just cutting off numbers.
That's what I'm
this.
thinking.
There's
That's what it
some
has to
bullshit,
be.
though.
That's what it has to be.
I'm really sad that XXX has such a weak showing at number 200.
Honestly.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, this has to be just like them cutting stuff off because like GTA is number 5 on video
Yes,
games.
right.
Like,
Okay,
like
right.
2 million whatnot. And like I could see somebody being like GTA password or GTA 1 2 3 4 or whatever for their Grand Theft Auto Online login,
Yeah.
which fair. I have to say I don't reuse passwords and I use a password manager and have for a long time. But there are some things where I'm like, I don't care if this gets leaked because I don't have any payment information or anything else to it. Where sometimes I will use a very obvious, very bad password just because I'm like, I don't care enough to even open up the password.
Are you
manager.
one of the 840,000 people using Justin?
Ooh, yeah.
Even in cases where I don't care, like I'm not going to use this service in correlation with anything else, and if it gets like even in those situations, I will use a 3-word phrase with spaces. I love that spaces are allowed in passwords because I can just type a sentence.
Some passwords.
Most passwords will allow you to use a space.
I don't know. I run into so many exceptions with that for certain things.
If I run into an exception, I'll use an underscore. But
hold on.
But a 3-word phrase, and I will, and on services that I really don't care about, I will reuse a password.
Right. I was going to say, do you reuse the thing?
Actually, have a keyboard shortcut to insert that password. Like it's
amazing.
It's hard coded into my key bindings to like just insert this fucking generic password that if this service got compromised and this password is compromised anywhere else it was used, I also wouldn't care.
Yeah, I used to use for this was for a shared password service. I think it was called PassPack. This that was one of the early enterprise focused like password manager things. You had to have like a phrase to get into it, like that's what they required you to do. And I had a Simpsons quote, and I won't say which one, I because I don't think I've used it anywhere else, but I'm not opening myself up for that sort of OPSEC. And there are only 100 million Simpsons quotes you could use. But I found that was
My
actually
doctor
like if
said my nose wouldn't bleed if I just kept my fingers out of there.
Your
exactly,
epidermis is
exactly.
showing.
And exactly. And so but that was I was thinking, I was like, if I had to come up with like something and keep a list of it, obviously still have a list of my passphrases, but I was like, that would probably be one of the best ones I could do just because of, I've spent literally my entire life I've spent quoting The Simpsons. So
What about, okay, so two things. I want to read two of my very favorites, and I know we need to move on, but I also want to say, do you remember back in the day when you could log into a service by adding your username and password to the URL? Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
Oh
It would be
yeah,
like
yeah,
it
yeah.
would be like
Basic
uh,
authentication. You can still do that with
can you?
so most services that have moved on to like token authentication
Yeah.
no longer accept basic auth, but anything that does still accept basic auth, even if you ping a 1.0 version of their API, you can still put username : password into the
Wow.
URL and log into it.
Wow. We've been
It's
through
so
some
bad
times.
though.
Okay, here.
And when we think about it, like that's literally like one of the worst things you could possibly do.
Oh my God,
Like,
it's just
Right.
it's horrible because it also means someone's
with
emailing you that link.
non-SSL
right, that's what
URLs
I'm
too.
saying.
Right,
With
right, right,
non-SSS
right.
URLs, you're literally passing it in plain text. It was like, oh my God. All right.
Yeah, it's like the days before you could treat sexually transmitted diseases. So okay, my two favorites before we move on. Right here at number 152, let me in, all one word. It's a good one. And then last year's number 146, trust no one, TRUSTNO number one. That should have been N0 number one, though, really. I mean, if we were really going for it. All right, it's gratitude time, yeah, and we're switching it up today. Let's just
is
be
what
straightforward
we call
about
it,
that.
heartitude.
Heartitude, which I kind of love because it's like it sounds
It's
like
like
hard on. So
Batitude.
like
There was a band called Batitude. Heartitude.
Heartitude.
So this
hardware.
is
Stuff that makes us hard.
a hardware week of gratitude. We're going to talk about some of our favorite hardware for the week. I feel like, Christina, you're ready to go with this?
Yep. Okay, so this is a keyboard that I was not expecting to buy last week, but I did. A, because it was on sale for Black Friday, and B, because it turns out I work with the designer, which is wild to me. I was talking to her, and I didn't realize. So, are either of you familiar with the Olivia keycaps series, like
No.
the theme? So, if you search GMK Olivia, it's like one of the most loved keycap sets
Okay,
that's
I'll
come
look right
out,
now.
and there are a million copies of it. And it hasn't been run, I don't think, since 2018 or 2019.
Oh yeah.
So, but it's a rose gold themed set.
Yeah.
Anyway, I work with
Gorgeous.
Olivia at GitHub. Olivia works at GitHub.
Really?
Yeah, and I found this out when we were talking about something unrelated, but we were bonding over rose gold, and she was like, "Do you have a rose gold keyboard?" I was like, "I do," and I showed her like a keycap set or whatever that I have, and then I was like, "I wanted, more of these, but it's hard to get." She's like, "Yeah, it's going to become, coming. There's going to be another release and blah blah blah." And I just figured she was really into the keyboard community. And then I realized that there was a themed Olivia keyboard that Notion Keys came out with last year, and it was 50% off for Black Friday, and I asked my friend Helen, I was like, should I buy this? Because it's 50% off. She's like, well, Olivia works at Novel Keys. Sorry, not Notion Keys, Novel Keys. She was like, well, Olivia works at GitHub. And I was like, wait, what? I'm talking to her right now. And I went back to Olivia and I was like, wait. You're the Olivia? She was like, yeah. I was like, so I was literally wearing the band tee to the concert, talking to the band, and didn't even know it.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's also the main developer behind Via, which is like the keyboard customization software for QMK, the firmware. Anyway, she's badass. We're best friends now. But
That's
I
awesome.
bought, because it was 50% off, I bought an NK65 Olivia edition keyboard. So, you know, in homage to my new best friend. And
I love it.
it's also I needed to lube the stabilizers on the space bar and the inner keys, but the keys themselves, even though it was a pre-assembled one, like, and I would have been happy to assemble it myself, but in this case it was actually cheaper to get the keyboard than it would be to buy an aftermarket set of the keys. But I bought the Olivia edition keyboard, and I really like it. So that's
Awesome.
my Heartitude. And also, like, just a hilarious story that I found out that I like
That's amazing.
was, yeah,
That's
I still
amazing.
can't believe it that I was like, I'm literally like, I had no idea. Like, you would have thought that I was like trying to like suck up to her or something. I had no clue
Yeah, yeah,
that I
yeah.
was that
Right.
I was like, wait, because Olivia, in my mind, there was no way in my mind that I was like, oh yeah, she person who designed the keycap series,
Right.
Olivia, is
Right.
Olivia. No, yeah, same person. She's great.
So you live in Capitol Hill, right?
I do.
Yeah. Here's another story from Capitol Hill. In 1992, my friend Marty, she was at a bar and she was drinking with a friend whose other friend showed up, and the three of them were sitting at a table. And she asked the guy that had joined them, like, well, oh, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I'm a bass player. She's like, oh, cool, I'm a bass player too. Da, 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 da. It keeps going, keeps going. It was Jeff Ament, the bass player of Pearl Jam, who she had no idea what he even looked like.
I
She's
bet
like,
he
oh, I'm a
loved
bass
that.
player too. That's cool. I'm in a band too.
Oh my god, I bet he
It's
loved
very
that though.
similar. I bet he did. Yeah, you got it. I mean, it's like perfect, just an innocent, awesome, just like, yeah, he wasn't like, I'm a bass player, you might have heard of me. I'm the guy I mean, was he wearing the hat? I never asked her. Like, because there's no excuse for missing it if he was wearing the big floppy Fat Albert hat, whatever the fuck he wore. Anyway, that you reminded me of that, and it comes from your neighborhood.
I love it.
All right, Brett, you want to go?
Sure. I'm gonna talk about the Wave XLR from Elgato. So I use a Shure SM7B microphone, which is why my voice has this wonderful timbre to it. But in order to use it previously, I have run it through a cloud lifter and then through a Scarlett Solo.
Essentially 2 preamps.
Sure, and then a second cutoff switch for a microphone mute as a cough button, and I have multiple versions of that. So ultimately, $500+ worth of hardware just to use this microphone, and then as mentioned previously on the show, David Sparks mentioned that he was using the Wave XLR, and I decided it's $150. I'm going to give it a shot. It's one big dial that has
I was gonna say, I love that. Yeah.
75, is it watts? I don't even know what the unit is, but 75 decibels. I'm going to fuck that up.
75 Watsits.
75 Watsits is enough to power the SM7B on its own, and you can control the mix in your headphones, the headphone volume, and the microphone gain, all from one big dial, right there on your desk. And it has a capacitive mute button, so I can just tap the top of this thing, and it serves as a cough button. So like literally all I have
Nice.
to do is flail for it. if I need to silence it, I just flail for it.
So now you don't hear a cough, but you hear ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk as you try to flail for it.
No, I just it's pretty easy to hit. I keep it right in the middle of my desk, and I am very impressed with it. It is $150 gadget that has replaced over $500 worth of gear that I am now going to see
Jesus.
what I
That's
can get
awesome.
for on the used gear market. But yeah, this is a great little box. And even without the drivers, without the software, like it does exactly what I've just said it would. But with the software that Elgato provides, you can also patch in multiple audio sources
Yeah.
and mix and match all of your different inputs, and it will interface very nicely with a Stream Deck and the Stream Deck Plus, which, oh my god, that's what I want for Christmas. If anyone wants to get me a Christmas present,
You want
send
the
me a
Stream
Stream
Deck?
Deck Plus with the 4
Yeah, I want that
knobs.
too. I want that too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because I
yeah.
have the Stream Deck the big one
The
and
XL.
the XL, and I didn't get the Mark II because it was just the faceplates, even though it looked great. But now the
Yeah,
Stream Deck
right.
Plus, I'm like, oh man, I want this. I
Yeah.
have almost the entire Elgato like kit of stuff. I've got their lights. I've
Me
got
too.
like
Yeah.
the Cam Link 4K.
Face
I've got like the
cam,
yeah.
the
Um,
key lights.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've got like everything, but I don't have the XL R because I the Wave XL or whatever it is, because I have the Tascam thing that I'm using. Now, didn't you used to have a Rodecaster?
No, I've never had the Rodecaster. I would be curious. Again, if someone wants to send it to me, great. But no, I've never had the Rodecaster.
Okay, so eventually when I finally set up all my stuff, which I will be doing hopefully over Christmas, I have, because it's been sitting here for months, I have
Oh
the
man.
Tascam.
Oh, shit.
So I'm showing this off on camera. So I have the Tascam Mixcast 4,
Yes.
which is basically their version of the Rodecaster. Now, the Rodecaster, they did just come out with a new version, which I think is better. But when I bought mine, the Tascam was both cheaper and had features that the Rodecaster
I hope you
did
start
not.
dropping beats.
I mean, I hope
With
so.
those little pads.
So,
on it.
but in my defense, I needed to spend like a certain amount of money that like the Microsoft gave me every year for certain things. I needed to spend it before I
Right.
left. So I had like $1,500 that I had to blow through. So I got that,
Damn.
and I
Fun.
got the CalDigit 4, and I got I got 3 Elgato or not Elgato 4 3 Ergotron arms. So I was just
Nice.
like, bam, there we go. But if I hadn't, then I would have been. I'm really glad to know that the Wave XLR works with the SM7B, because a lot of sub $200 preamp things don't.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
this is
awesome.
the most powerful preamp I've ever seen in a sub $500 mixer or audio interface.
That's awesome.
It
Yeah.
has all the amperage you need.
Yeah, when you were telling us about it at first, I was confused because I was confusing it with their microphone. I was like, why would you replace your 7B with this? But
Right.
okay. So
Right.
that's why I asked, oh, you're selling that? I was you'll make money for that. You're like, no, I'm gonna keep it. I was like, okay, well that's weird. So but now it makes sense, and I got them confused. But Elgato, man, like I even have their green screen, which I'm gonna have to get installed at some point, because I got like the one I can mount on the
Yeah.
wall and like pull it down.
Yeah.
Like I love their stuff.
Well, my heartitude is actually Elgato, and it's not even like necessarily gratitude. It's just for anyone who's considering upgrading from the like medium-sized one to the XL. I did that last year, and I still don't fill more than 15 at a time. It looks
about
like
the Stream Deck.
I'm talking about the Stream Deck XL, which has like what 28.
Yeah, it was too big for me. I didn't need it. I would
It's like it looks so sad. Like I have one for when I'm on Zooms, and it just looks like I bought a house that's way too big for me and then went back on tour.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
the early rock star move. So just to anybody who's wondering, really just game it out, because other than the fact that the form factor is fucking awesome on
Yeah.
this thing, I don't need it.
Yeah, I would say for people, if you don't know, we've talked about this before, and actually this is good gratitude. So this kind of takes us back. If you are not
Yeah.
sure if you would benefit from a Stream Deck, sorry. The Steam Deck is also great. But if you do not
Steam
know
Deck, yeah.
if you benefit from a Stream Deck, Elgato sells a Stream Deck app in the App Store that has the same functionality. It doesn't have the tactile buttons, obviously, but it has the same functionality. I think it's like $30 for a year subscription. I think you can also do it monthly. What I'd recommend doing is trying that app out and doing the subscription, for a month or a year or whatever, as a test, see if you get benefit out of it. If you do, if it's something you realize, oh, I'm going to benefit from this, then go ahead and buy a physical one. You can also use the two together, which is really useful, and they can kind of sync. So if
Oh,
you're,
you can use the little one and the big one together?
yeah,
I have a 15 key one and I have a 6 key mini. And I use the 15 key one to determine what displays on the 6 key mini. So I have like pages of buttons on my 15 key, and I can just press a button on that and it will change what's displayed on the mini, which is front, like the 15 key is to the left of my keyboard on a keyboard tray, but the mini is front and center on the top of my desk. And so like say I'm in a Zoom meeting, I just hit the Zoom button on the 15 key, and all of my buttons on my mini change to buttons for muting my microphone, turning video on and off, leaving the meeting, sharing screen, and like very context sensitive situations.
It allows you to be super chaotic. You just start hitting all those buttons, It's like
yeah.
Awesome. Well, good to see y'all again.
yeah, it's good to see
I'm
you
late
too.
for therapy as we speak.
Oh man, well, we're very sorry about
My
that. but-
my therapy session started 12 minutes ago, and I sent an email saying, "Hey, I got a meeting running long. I will be there. Charge me for the full hour. I'll get there
Totally.
when I get there."
Well, thank you for missing therapy for us. Hopefully, we were a good pregame, and yeah,
Right on.
Awesome. Get some sleep, y'all.
get some
Get some
sleep.
sleep.
The system is going down now.